He said that I will take away their branches. Well, let's understand why. Because Yeshua addresses this very clearly in John 15. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me, okay, let's just stop right there. I am the true vine, and he's talking now a branch in me. So he's talking about an offshoot from him. In other words, you're a part of him, you're attached and connected. It's a discipleship again. You are a branch in him. You've attached yourself to him. You're growing and being fed and nurtured. You're from him. He says, every branch in me that bears no fruit. By the way, this is for all the Baptists and everybody else out there who believed in the whole once saved, always saved thing. Look, every branch in me, can we all agree that at least by mainstream Christianity's terms, that's a saved person? Can we all agree on that? At least the way mainstream Christianity would say, a branch in him would have to be a saved person. Okay, so if their theory is correct, he says, look, every branch in me that bears no fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes so that it bears more fruit. Let's look at verse 6. He says, if anyone does not stay in me, he is thrown away. What do you mean if he doesn't stay in me? I didn't think you could leave. You're once saved, always saved. How could you not stay in me? He says, if anyone doesn't stay in me, they had to already be in him to not stay. You can't have someone say that they're not staying unless they were there to begin with. So they were staying in him. He says, if they don't stay, if they were there and they leave, he's thrown away as a branch and dries up, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. Isn't that what's talking about in Jeremiah 5? It's the same thing. So we'll go back to verse 3. It says, you are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. He says, look, every branch that bears fruit, he says, those branches that are bearing fruit are already clean. And as you're clean while you're bearing fruit. But guess what? You stop being clean, you're not going to bear fruit. So it's not, again, a permanent status here. It says, you are already clean. Yes. But guess what? If I have my son or my daughter take a shower and they're clean, do they ever need another shower? In other words, you can become dirty again, can't you? He says, so they're already clean, and so they're bearing fruit. He says, stay in me. That's the key to staying clean. Stay in me, and I stay in you. As the branch is unable to bear fruit of itself unless it stays in the vine. You have to be fed through the vine. You have to stay in the Torah, in the truth, in the light, in the sun, in Yeshua. You see? You have to stay in all of that. He says, stay in me. He says, because otherwise you're unable to bear fruit unless you stay in the vine. So neither you unless you stay in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. Verse 6 from chapter 14. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. You need to stay in the way. You have to stay in the truth. You have to stay in the life. So it's all connecting together. This is only a few minutes later, really, as you're going through this whole thing. He's just speaking this whole long speech here, this long sermon. Okay, from John 14 straight through. And he goes, because there's nowhere it says here that then he stopped and he went to another town or something. He's still going. So he had just said in verse 6 of 14, he says, I am the way. Stay in me. Stay in the way. There is a way. There's also a way that seems right to a man, and that way leads to what? Death, destruction. But he says, I am the way that leads to life. He says, so stay in me. Stay in life. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Who stays in me and I in him, he bears much fruit, because without me you are able to do nothing. Without me, without what is me? Without life, without the way, without the path, without the truth, how can you do anything? You can't do anything. It's not saying without some ooey-gooey spirit thing is just going to do it all for you thing. He says, look, if you don't have me, the fullness of what I am the son of the creator of the universe. I am the creator of this earth. I was part of the creation of this earth. I am the master of masters, the king of kings, but I'm also, in a much more important way, I am light. I am truth. I am life itself. I am the Torah. You understand what I'm saying here? You have to embrace all that he is. Now, were they doing that in Jeremiah's day? Nope. And they had access to all this, but they weren't doing it. And that's what Yahweh's yelling at them about here. He's really coming down hard on them. He says, look, then we get to verse 6. If anyone doesn't stay in me, he's thrown in the fire, right? We talk about he's thrown away as branches that dry up, and they gather and throw them in the fire, and they're burned. Verse 7, if you stay in me, and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. If you stay in me, and not just if you stay in me or think you stay in me or claim I'm Messiah. No, if you stay in me, stay in the way, stay in the life, stay in the truth, and my words stay in you. By the way, how do you know if these things are happening? He already told you. It will bear fruit. That's how you know it's happening, because there'll be fruit as evidence. So if you stay in me and you're bearing fruit, guess what? Then you can ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. But only then. So a lot of people are like, I ask and I ask. Well, okay, but are you staying in him? And are your words staying? Are his words staying in you? Because only at that point can you ask. By the way, that's consistent with John 14, where he says, let's see, truly, truly, I say to you in verse 12, he who believes in me, the works that I shall do, he shall do also, and greater works than these, because I go to the Father. And whatever you ask in my name, I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. Now, there is a study on that Hebrew word for name, Shem, which actually, when you get into it, you'll understand it's referring to character. Now, we talked about in the no other name teaching that it refers to not only character, but reputation and identity. But let's use the word character. He says, look, whatever you ask in my character. In other words, when you're behaving like me and acting like me and thinking like me, then I will do it. So if you're not behaving like me and acting like me, then don't be surprised that the answer is no. Whatever you ask in my character, that you're doing in my character, in my reputation, the way I do things, he said, I will do it for you. That I shall do. Why? In order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. And he says, all of this is, and if you love me, you shall guard my commands. And then I shall ask for the helper to be sent, etc. So all of this is connected in the same consistent way. If we're going about it in the wrong way, it's not going to work. There's a right way to do things. But are we willing to do it the right way? That's really the question. Are we willing to submit to what he has said is the right way? And so he says here again in verse 7, if you stay in me and my words stay in you, you shall ask whatever you wish and it shall be done for you. In this my Father is esteemed, or gains a lot of honor, that you bear much fruit, and you shall be my disciples. So now we're back to that discipling thing. In other words, you shall be those that have come to fully yield and submit to become like me. So let me mold you the way you need to be molded. Are you going to be pliable in the Master's hands? He says, if this is going on, then truly you shall be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. So now he's telling you that this whole love thing is connected to Torah. By the way, we have a teaching. I'm going to redo it at some point, but we do have the teachings right now called Love and Torah. You will be amazed if you listen to that teaching that almost everywhere love is mentioned, Torah observance is mentioned. If you love me, keep my commandments. And you shall love me with all your heart, with all your strength, and all might, and guard my commands. Over and over again in the Old Testament, over and over again in the New Testament. Love and Torah always go together. And so we've been talking about his word here. He just said in verse 7, if you stay in me and my word stays in you, that's the Torah. And then he says, and if you guard my commands, verse 10, and you shall stay in my love. He says, as the Father's loved me, I have also loved you. Stay in my love. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love. He tells you right there, that's how it's done. If you guard the commands, you stay in his love. Even as I have guarded my Father's commands and stay in his love. That's discipleship. You know that Yeshua is in the Father's love, and you want to be there too. So you go to Yeshua and say, Yeshua, I want to be like you because I know you are doing what the Father wants, and so let me come to you and learn how to do that. That's why we go to Yeshua. We go to Yeshua seeking to understand, how do we do that?